I'm Julie Zenner along with Dennis Anderson, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Well, the Duluth School Board voted this week to put a levy referendum on the November ballot. The school board chair is here tonight to talk about the levy issue.
A project to provide broadband internet service to homes and businesses in Lake and eastern St. Louis counties is underway. We'll tell you more about Lake Connections.
And we'll have the week's business news and a news file story from 25 years ago.
You've come to the right place. Almanac North is next. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Denny, it's been a nice week, but we'll need to get some rain soon.
It has gotten very dry around here. I don't think we've had an appreciable rain since June.
Not really, but the weather has been lovely.
It's been very nice, that's for sure.
And
all right.
We hope that the rain holds off until after the weekend, and let's get started with our first topic. Denny.
All right, thank you very much, Julie. Welcome, everyone. During a meeting this week, the Duluth School Board approved a two-question education levy for the fall ballot. The decision came after a recommendation from Superintendent Bill Gronseth that district residents be given a chance to vote on the levy. Now, the school district could have imposed a $300 per pupil levy on property taxpayers without a vote thanks to a new law passed by the legislature. But the district will let voters decide and also ask for an increase of $200 per pupil if the first levy question is approved. Joining us now to explain the levy issue is Tom Kasper, the chair of the Duluth School Board. And Tom, thanks for being here. The legislature did make some changes to the funding formula this year. It all sounds kind of confusing. Can you explain this a little bit?
It's very confusing,
Yeah.
and I think you did a really good job explaining it though with what you were talking about. So their per pupil funding, or how they record it, has changed a little bit. So it's very difficult to understand, and having been through about a dozen meetings about it, there's still some confusion. But what really it comes down to, as far as the levy and the question that's on the ballot for folks to decide this November, is really about what's it going to cost. And it really, to support the first question, is not going to be a tax increase for the Duluth residents or the residents of ISD 7.
So in other words, the first question, you would, if you voted yes, you're supporting what is currently in place?
Yes.
Okay.
Currently, yeah, it would not be a tax increase.
Okay.
So.
It's actually, though, the equivalent of what's in place, not really what's in place.
Exactly.
Because if you look at the numbers themselves, the current operating levy is $365 per pupil, roughly, and you're asking the voters to approve roughly $595.
Yes.
Looking at that on paper, it's going to be hard for people to grasp that it's not a tax increase.
Exactly.
So talk to that. How come those numbers on paper look so much different than what reality is? Because people don't really trust the Duluth School District on everything. Sorry.
Boy, we got the elephant in the room here, don't we? No, and you're right, there is a trust issue, and that's unfortunate. And really, that really became, in the decision that I made to support not using our authority to levy the amount that we had mentioned earlier, the $300, and give that opportunity back to the public to vote to support their public schools. So it's really about that trust and wanting to restore that and looking at how can we do that, and this was certainly one of those ways.
Yeah.
Not using our authority, giving that opportunity back to the public to support schools. So.
And if this levy is passed, there's also kind of some bonus money that would come the district's way too, I understand.
Yeah, about $1.1 million in additional state money would come to the school district if the first question is supported by the public. So that also has a big impact. And then, of course, there is a second question on the ballot that folks will be asked. If they support that, it will be a tax increase, although relatively minor. I think about $3.50 a month for a $150,000 house. So it will generate some additional money, about $1.8 million if it's supported, and again, at a small increase in tax.
Tom, I think this is a question that has to be asked. Is this an effort in futility if Duluth voters turn down what the school board is asking? Will you go over their heads anyway, say a year from now?
It really depends on if the legislature gives us the authority to do that. We don't have the authority to do that at this point. By postponing or denying, we're in a position where we'd have to wait.
So the taxpayers do have a say.
The taxpayers have an incredible amount of say.
How did you vote? Did you vote to allow the taxpayers?
You didn't watch?
I did not, I'm sorry.
I voted to support the taxpayers. I felt like, and when I ran 4 years ago, I ran with the concern that the taxpayers were not given the opportunity to support the long-range facility plan. I felt like they would have, and I felt like that the long-range facility plan has done many positive things for the students of ISD 709. But I ran under the premise that I didn't like the idea that we as taxpayers weren't given.
So taxpayers, you feel, have a right to determine the future of their schools.
Exactly.
They're paying for it.
Exactly.
Say, Tom, I want to go back to that second question, because there is a kind of a tier associated with it also, where you can't just vote for the second one and expect it to pass. The first one has to pass initially as a foundation before that other one could pass.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Exactly. So we would need a simple majority to support the first question, and then if the second question is also supported, then that would pass as well. But without the first question being supported, the second question becomes a moot point.
So Tom, how would any new revenues be used?
There's a couple different things. Well, the first, if the first question is supported, it basically is status quo. And we'll use money from that to deal with hot spots in some of our schools as far as class sizes. Also, what we did, of course, we did the Think Kids, where we had over 50 community meetings, and we had folks come on and talk about what concerned them and what they like about the schools. So we're using that really as our model to use that money to deal with whether it's integration money or anything like that. So I just lost what I was
So
thinking.
what you mentioned what the taxpayer, what the parents like about the schools.
Yep.
What are they telling the school board that they like about the schools?
They love the facilities are beautiful. They love the teacher-student interactions. They think we have a wonderful teaching population, our teachers and also our staff that are in our schools. They like their opportunities for technology and it being up to date and current.
And of what are they critical?
They're critical of class sizes, and our curriculum in some cases is not kept up, so some of our textbooks are old, so also that funding would help with that. Now if the second question is supported by the taxpayers, then we will deal significantly with class sizes because we'll have the additional revenue to do that. So.
And what if that first one fails?
It's not going to be a very good thing.
What would happen?
Well, we would, with a loss of about $4 million, you're looking at significant staff reductions, class sizes increase, curriculum backing up, all sorts of negative things that are unfortunately would be very difficult to overcome in the short term for the district and for the students of the district. So, and the big impact is really what impact does it have on our students and really the future of Duluth. So
it sounds like it's a pretty big risk when you had the money in your hand that you could have for sure used for these kids. Is it gambling? Real money that would help real kids, and who's to blame if it doesn't
it is real
come
gambling.
through?
It's a big risk, and it's a but the feeling is that it's also a big risk not to give the public that opportunity to support their schools. For the long range or long-term viability of our schools, we need the public support, and by taking that opportunity for them to support it away, I think would have had a long-term negative impact.
Yeah.
My hope is that through much information that's being provided through places like this and others, people will gain an understanding of the importance of that vote and come out to vote in support of it.
Not supporting or not getting a chance to vote on the red plan, and of course we can go back to the old, the Central High School issue when they built the new Central High School, which lasted about 40 years. Are voters gun shy in this town?
Well, I think, I don't know if gun shy is or you know, with money tight, they're concerned about any additional taxes, and that's why we're confident with the first question, because it isn't a tax increase. It will be interesting to see how the second question and how people support it. It hopefully is not significant in that it's at $3 to $4 for the average homeowner a month.
All right.
So.
Tom Kasper, Duluth School Board Chair. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
The last piece of commercially owned property on the Chippewa flowage may soon be purchased. The National Forest Service hopes to acquire the nearly 1,600 acres from Northern States Power for the Chequamegon National Forest.
The Forest Service has been interested in this property very actively for the last 21 years. We've been working on this since the license from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to the power company was due to expire.
The $1.4 million needed to purchase the land will come from federal appropriations initiated by Wisconsin Congressman Dave Obey.
Basically what has happened is that the Northern States Power Company is selling the land. The state has bought between 6,000 and 7,000 acres from Northern States. And the federal government is picking up about 1,500 acres as well, and I simply got an amendment added to the appropriations bill, which would provide the funding for that federal purchase.
The bill is in the Senate right now, and if approved, will be included in the fiscal budget for 1989. Except for a few private residences and resorts, the purchase will mean the Chippewa flowage is public domain. 4 eagles' nests are included on the land to be acquired. The Forest Service hopes the purchase will forever preserve what they consider one of the nation's most unique natural resources. Colleen Burns, KDLH News.
Lake County is moving ahead with a project that will provide high-speed internet and other broadband services in a largely rural area. Lake Connections, the county-owned fiber optic network, is being offered to homeowners and businesses in Lake and eastern St. Louis counties. The fiber is being strung in 2 harbors in Silver Bay in phase 1 of the project, with the entire broadband network slated to be in place by 2015. Well, here to tell us more is Jeff Roiland, project manager of Lake Connections. And Rich Svay is the chair of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. And thanks to both of you for coming in on a beautiful Friday night in the summer.
Thank you.
Jeff, how far along are you in the fiber project right now?
I would say we're about a third of the way done. Phase 1 started last June in 2012 with 2 harbors in Silver Bay. And that's about 90% complete. And our Phase 2, which is consisting of Silver Bay down to Duluth Township, is probably about halfway done. So we have a big Phase 3, which covers most of the northern area up to Ely and back down, consists of about 750 miles. And that contract right now is waiting in the hands of RUS out in Washington, D.C.
Sure.
So,
Rich, what is the fiber optic system? What are we building here?
Well, we're building a state-of-the-art fiber-to-the-home product. Everybody that's on the electrical grid in Lake County and the eastern part of St. Louis County will have the ability to have true broadband to their home.
And that would be telephone, computer, what else?
We got data, video, and voice.
Okay, all right. So, you know, those of us who have it already take it for granted. Have people been asking for it in Lake County?
Yes. Recently, this last year at least, a week won't go by that someone doesn't stop me on the street and ask, when am I getting it? And many of these are small businesses that have rural homes, kind of not necessarily in the city, not the traditional businesses you think of, and they need these connections to further their business and work in the global economy.
How did this project all get started?
Well, I guess that goes to me. I was a little bit before Jeff got on board, although he's been with us a long time. It came from the late Commissioner Bergman. He was the driving force behind this. He's quite an advocate for local business and moving our businesses forward. So it was his push. We, as a board, discussed it and decided at one point that we would, in 2009, that we would seek federal funding to move this project and see if we could get it going forward.
So Jeff, how is this funded?
Well, it's funded through the ARA Act, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, and so there was funds that were given to the broadband the Broadband Initiative program, and so these funds, there was $7.2 million or $1 billion that were attributed to broadband infrastructure throughout the United States.
Have you received other grants as well?
Well, part of this whole loan, it's a loan grant agreement
see.
of $66.5 million. So there's $10 million that was grant and $56.5 million in loan.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering, you know, it's such a rural area. Have there been any challenges associated with trying to get fiber out into all of those areas that haven't had it before?
Well, there's a lot of rock. That's one thing. Most of our plant is consisted of 60% being on the poles, the utility poles, and 40% will be buried in the ground. So there's definitely, you know, difficulties with, you know, getting on the pole sometimes with whoever the owner is and making sure that everybody makes adjustments so that there is room for us to attach to the poles. And then there's just granted the construction of the bedrock and the granite. And
Rich, when do you expect to have the service online?
Boy, I wish it was on yesterday.
Not quite that early.
No, it's, we're hoping to have the first customers fired up maybe about the winter months of this year.
Oh, really? Okay. That would be the folks like in the Two Harbors area?
Two Harbors, Silver Bay,
Bay.
And some of the surrounding areas. Our project is built in rings. The major metropolitan areas, if they're in Lake County, go first, and then these rings will go out and to the rural areas of the county.
Did you ever think as a county commissioner that you would be in the business of broadband internet? I mean, it just seems like a bit of a disconnect.
It really is. And no, the answer is no. I didn't ever think we'd be here.
What are some of the benefits that you see really bringing to the county and the individual residents and the businesses?
well, I think in my opinion, being up here for the last 2 years building this network, I've had a lot of people reach out to me that, you know, that have second homes, or they come up here and they want to stay up here, but yet they don't have the infrastructure to actually do telecommute or work from home. So this will help that tremendously, and then also just the economic driving force of trying to increase technology jobs in this area, being so close to Duluth and having the shore and the great place to live. I think it's just a huge economic driver for it.
So Jeff and Rich, you've got an open house coming up. What's it for? When is it and where is it?
Well, it'll be in Two Harbors at our broadband headquarters, and that is next Wednesday at 11 a.m. And we invite everybody to join us.
What will you be just talking about it or demonstrating some things, or what's going to be the program?
Well, we won't be ready to demonstrate anything yet, but we'll talk about it and have people visit the building, tour the facility, and try to answer any questions that the public might have.
Looks like you've been renovating a large building?
Yeah, this building is 10,000 square feet, and it was originally built by the phone company 20 years ago. And so this will be the headquarters for all of the fiber to come back. So all the fiber that reaches out to Ely and Isabella and Finland and Silver Bay, all this fiber terminates back. There's over 6,000 connections of fiber there. So all our electronics, all our transport gear will all be housed out of there, serving the whole entire Lake County and eastern parts of St. Louis County.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the region has missed out on opportunities over the past 10 years or so because it hasn't been as up to speed as some other parts of the country are with their broadband?
I would say most definitely. And I look to what the federal government and the Minnesota government have done. The President of the U.S. and the Governor of Minnesota have both signed executive orders to bring broadband to underserved or rural areas in Minnesota and in the nation.
What percentage of Lake County residents are expected to sign up?
We hope all.
I mean, you think better than 50%?
Oh, I believe so.
Okay.
Yep. We're hoping so.
You're hoping so, yeah.
Have you been doing surveys or trying to find out
just
what
in
that number is?
Just in the two communities of Two Harbors and Silver Bay, we've actually sent out mailer forms for folks to actually sign up for a fiber drop, and we've reached up to 75% of those homeowners signing up. So,
is there a significant cost to those homeowners who want to get hooked into the system?
Not at that point, because that was kind of our early construction, and we had our mainline guys in there doing their mainline construction. So while we're in there, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have to disturb the properties as much as we had to and construct to the home.
Can you buy just one part of the service, or do you have to buy all of the service? How does that work?
You can buy any 1, 2, or 3 parts of the service.
Okay. One would assume that resorts in your area must have been clamoring for this.
Well, most definitely. There's a lot of the resorts that are...
In terms of reservations and...
Yeah, and a lot of folks, when they go to a resort, they want to have that internet capability so they can connect home, and a lot of that is so limited in the rural areas that there's no capacity.
Have you started doing any economic development, trying to entice new businesses now that this is going to be an option in the region?
Most definitely we have. One of the things that we have been pursuing is a data center, where these large storage areas. Northern Minnesota is a prime area that these companies are looking at. We don't have the natural disasters that you might find in other areas. We have a cool climate and an abundance of water.
Do you think it ever would have been cost effective to do this without the public funding? Does it ever make sense to, from a business standpoint, to route the fiber out into the rural areas?
I think that's the $1,000,000 question. We haven't seen it happen anywhere else. So this was the opportunity that we had through the funding, through the federal government and their Reinvestment Act.
Yeah.
It was a perfect opportunity to try it. We're going to be kind of a poster child for counties across the nation.
To your knowledge, is Lake County one of the last regions in northern Minnesota that doesn't yet have the service? Or are there others?
I would say no. I would say that a lot of rural Minnesota does not have this service.
I see.
What's next now? You'll have the open house and the project continues, but talk about the process as you look out over the next couple of years.
Well, there will be a lot of building still going on, and we'll have pre-sales. So as the infrastructure gets laid, there's a lot of things that have to happen in the headquarters with electronics, and staff will be hired. So we'll have local staff to actually maintain the network. Calls, people can come in, pay their bills, and have a local presence right there in town of Two Harbors. So there's a lot of operational going on, and will continue to go on, and just to continue build. So I see that just continuing.
And how fast will the connections be for folks? Because I live in a rural area. That's always a question I ask when I'm
the fiber
signing up.
Capability to the home, it'll be at up to 100 megabits to every resident and a gigabit to every business. The network is easily scalable to go a gigabit to every home.
And if people want to learn more about it and can't make it to the open house, where should they go or call?
They can go to our website at lakeconnections.com and sign up for our online newsletter and stay connected.
All right. Well, thank
Jeff,
you
Rich,
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
time now for the week's top economic news from the folks at Business North. UMD's School of Fine Arts has established the Creative Community Leadership Institute, a group that will use arts-based strategies to implement community development tactics. The institute isn't about making art. Instead, it'll be finding innovative ways to improve communities. UMD's School of Fine Arts is partnering with Intermedia Arts of Minneapolis, which has developed a 3-month program to train institute members. 25 people have been selected to participate in the group's first cohort.
The law enforcement community believes there is a risk of another raid and possibly violence at a mine drilling site in Iron County, Wisconsin. District Attorney Marty Lipsky is asking the public to help identify more than a dozen masked people who raided the site in June. The criminal complaint against a Stevens Point protester alleges mining opponents threatened to return in greater numbers and harm people. Lipsky said his office and the Sheriff's Department don't have the resources to conduct a statewide investigation, so they need the public's help.
The business community has endorsed the Grand Marais Cook County Airport Commission's effort to extend the existing airport runway. The local chamber board believes a 5,000-foot runway expansion is vital for the health, safety, and economic vitality of Cook County. One concern is that the existing runway is too short to support state and federal firefighting aircraft. Because of that short runway, aircraft fighting forest fires in Cook County must operate from airports much more distant from the blaze. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
Don't delay. Call now if you have a comment. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message or send an email to almanacnorth@wdse.org. And for the latest news and information about the station, visit the WDSE website where you'll find the program updates, links to PBS programming, and more. Well, Denny, lots of great activities in the region this weekend.
Absolutely. You know, school starts soon, so that means less traveling. This is a great weekend to get out and enjoy, and I think the weather's supposed to be fine.
It is indeed. For Denny and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Julie Zenner. Have a great weekend.